So I'm sitting here with my very good friend Eric Amarillo, and we're gonna talk a little bit about my upcoming book, and really happy to be able to sit here with you because you have been quite an influence on my practice the last years in particular. And
Really?
yes,
Wow, thank you.
you're welcome. And you also read my book with quite enthusiasm.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that that I was one of the first to read it. It was a pleasure, and it was somewhat like reading about myself, which is the bigger truth.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you, Mikael, for sharing this this piece of art, because I really think this is everything that we do when we enter this new era is somewhat channeled material, and but this was so obvious to me that this is something that it's supposed to come through you. So thank you for that piece of literature.
For me it's interesting because it's on one side it's a autobiography of my life and my path from the very first start, really, and it also feels like it's a coherent message that in itself already from the beginning kind of wanted to build up it. So it's like a 45 year of channeling compressed into this little book.
And you've also been working with it for a while.
Yeah, actually I started writing the first chapters about 15, a little bit more than 15 years ago. I started with the intention to make this book, and in a way it's kind of early to start your autobiography so in your 30s or something like this. But it's not really like writing a diary, because I've been just like every few years I've been diving back to this work and adding my, you could say, like the keys I managed to find through the few years that has passed. I kind of just sat down a couple of weeks and just looked back and took like the best things. Like I always feel like this when I speak to people. I remember my key events when I really understood something, and then I express these stories, how I come to this understanding and why I want to share this with you. And so this whole book is just this kind of picking the best things in the purpose of just sharing the highlights, the keys, the life hacks, in a way. Yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like reading it.
Yeah.
It's like I get the best parts. I don't need to, and that's a good thing. We don't really need to read and know everything. We can cherry pick now.
Yeah.
In this new time, where everything. We have a what do you call it? Palette, a plethora of everything, like smörgåsbord we say in Swedish.
Smörgåsbord.
Yeah, we have the Swedish smörgåsbord, which means that we can choose and pick everything that's delicious, and that's the time we live in, because we can go back to ancient Egypt and we can study all the pyramids, or we can go there and we can study UFOs, or we don't study anything, because we have all this inside us. And that's how it felt reading this book. It's like I don't need to know everything. I can just read your book.
Yeah, in a sense, this is what I want to share.
Because we all have all knowledge within.
Yeah, exactly. It's like compared to the old times, let's say, or like the past, you need to go through a lot of information to build this context where it makes sense. But today the amount of information out there is so vast, so just bringing small keys within this flora of information can be all that we need to really see the importance. It's more like finding what is really important these days than to know a lot, because there's so vast knowledge anyways too.
Yeah.
It's information overflow. This is also something that I write about in the book, how to cherry pick basically what actually means something to you.
And it's also something I've been thinking a lot lately about being alone, and this is something that you express in this book. Many of us in this awakening process, we need to go through a period at least being separated from the world, and you've done that. And this book is like a returning. You've done that. It's called the hermit. We need to step out, to step back into it, to the matrix again. And I think this book is a good example of that. You've been in and out of it your whole life, but this will bring you back with the luggage that you have, but you've cherry-picked now the stuff that you can actually bring with you as the fool in the tarot. You go out now with your book in your small luggage that you bring.
Yeah, and this the pocket guide to the galaxy in a sense.
Yeah. This could be this is your pocket guide to the galaxy.
Yeah. So reading the book, you told me before a little bit that it kind of reminded you of your own path, and in a way, maybe it sounds like it helped you somehow to maybe see your own path. How do you feel about that?
That's not something that I say every day, because not all books have that to me, but this book really spoke to me in that way. It felt like it was my book. I have not lived your life at all, but in a way I have. Being an outsider and everything, I think many of you can relate to this. If you're listening to this, if you feel drawn to reading this book, you're probably one of us that's been kind of an outsider in a good way. I mean, I don't see that as a bad thing at all. I was speculating the other day about the word in English, alone. It's all one, and in Swedish we have ensam. It's something that we have in all languages. We need to find ourselves first, and this is something that you express very fluently in this book, and there are many things in this book that I think you will all resonate with, because we all go through similar ascension paths to realize ourselves, the true selves. And so it was really inspiring to see that you've gone through. I mean, it's not entirely peaceful path that we when we initiate this. It can be troubling, and it will be troubling to go through these.
This is somehow this part of the path, and in this book I explain a lot about my childhood experience of being like an outsider, and also having different kind of painful states. That is really, the book really starts like this, how I through my pain came to new realizations. So this path of that I call the awakened warrior, this warrior path is not just a dance on roses. Like, it's not a sweet ride. It's a very tough, hard challenge in a way, but with always with this sweetness to it somehow, because it feels so. It's a meaningful process when you see it like that. And in a way, I wrote this book. I thought about a lot when writing that this is to help people who feel kind of you can be like I don't know how to express it, but like many people kind of feel a bit depressed or very down, and it's like too hard. Life is too hard, and I want people to understand that it's not that way. It's not like just it's not an easy road. A easy road will not lead you anywhere, basically.
No.
You'll sit still.
Yeah.
And so you don't need to be so down about hardship. Instead, you can see the hardship as keys to evolve.
Yeah.
It's
But
important.
that's easy to say when you have had a glimpse of what some people call paradise or bliss, or I mean the awakened warrior state.
Yeah.
If you've never experienced it, it looks like a hardship. But when you have the hindsight perspective, you can actually start enjoying the ride, even if it's painful.
Yeah, you
Because
can
you
enjoy
know-
the pain
yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah, because you know there is something else, and that sounds like I'm a religious person, but we're not religious. But we have insight now, and I mean the real insight.
Yeah, and this is exactly how my path started. My long journey started with this experience, the inner experience of what you could call paradise, if you like, like this very deep and profound. You cannot really express this, but as I express in this book, how I came in through this door of light and came to another state of consciousness that was just, well, you could say, a vast emptiness of light, and through my life, so many times when hardship arrived, I kind of remember that the end is somewhere there. It's like it's not gonna go downwards and you kind of go into misery and pain. In the end, you're gonna go back to this high state, and I don't have proof for that, but it's in my whole being. I know it. That's where I will end up. I don't know for how long, but
This is so amazing. Your strong knowing of this, which is called in some cultures the upper death drive. Which sounds negative, but there's an upper and a lower death drive. The lower death drive is that which drives most people in our world.
Afraid of death, you mean?
Yeah, it's not really afraid. It's neither of them. It's just a drive that we have, like an instinct that we know that we are on a journey. But most people in these days have no idea that there are a polarity, that we can actually be driven by the upper death drive, which is the natural evolution for us now that we go into the new era and everything. The natural drive was actually the lower death drive down to Kali Yuga and the end of Kali Yuga. But this death drive is actually not death as we know it. This is I would rather call it the quest for real life. And I can see and I can sense that in your book, that you've been driven by this unusual upper death drive, which is compartmentalized on most people, so they have no idea that there is actually this path also.
Yeah, my whole life it's been driven quite strongly just towards what I in the book describes as like this path of the bodhisattva, which is this deep longing to create the paradise on this very earth. And it's been very pronounced in my life that always I go back to kind of saving the world. Almost like this is also like one of the thing that I have been needing to work with, because this drive to save the world can be a bit strong. And I can see that. It's like I can always see what's happening, even though I do something, and after time I get this balance where I know where I can find exactly where I'm supposed to be, that I'm not pushing. I don't push, but I don't let go. I find this middle ground where I can create what needs to be created in the moment for my wish for liberating everything everywhere, and that everything is going to transform eventually into this higher state.
Beautiful.
You could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really what drives me, if you say, like, because
Yeah.
and it's so good when I contemplate on that. My driving force is to create beauty for everyone. That is kind of a feedback loop, because it feels so good that to know that I do this in a very unselfish way, and I find pride and I find like happiness in this.
Yeah.
It's not really that I don't like say like I'm so good. It's not like that. It's more like it's so beautiful that it happens. This happens. Beauty happens. Good things happen. It's not about me. In reality, everything is just about finding this natural state where the harmonious, balanced state that nature and everything just want to be in, and I just need to relax into this, not hide from it, not push it, just go into it, and the beauty will just happen by itself.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's alignment with the greater will. That's what I call it, because there is. I mean, when you say it's not my ego that wants this, there is a will inside of you. I want to do this, but it's aligned with the greater, the divine will that actually wants to create more. That wants to create first of all, but what does it want to create? Beauty.
Yeah.
More balance, more harmonious.
Yeah, space for beauty to develop and to freely express itself.
Yeah. So, thank you again, Mikael, for being you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. And something that I want to say something about this book. Actually, this book is really close to my heart.
Yeah.
And when I start looking at it and read something like correcting, editing in this process, I kind of get caught in it and start reading it over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy reading it, and I don't know, it's a bit, feels like a bit corny, but I really enjoy it. It's like something about it is just, I don't know, it's just something that's really touches me.
Yeah.
And that's
I think you've probably been waiting for this moment that you can be realized. And I think many of us experience this in this time, that we suddenly, but it's not suddenly, but it feels suddenly, we see ourselves and where we are as, wow, this is so fortunate and divine. How did I end up? It was you. You did it. You did this. You did this journey, and that's why I think you like to read your own journey, because it's just mind blowing that we made it. We made it here, and now, when we can actually be here in this paradise and be the full potential that we've been reading about. I mean, this new era, we're supposed to be this and that. Now we are this and that. And this is a manifestation for you to actually, it's a proof for you.
Yes, and I think many people, I think there's a lot of people out there like us that are doing really good, I would say, and really contributing, but kind of feel down in a way, like that they're not good enough. And I think, and I have had this as well. I've had this all the time, like this push. I need to do a little bit better, and somehow I'm starting to transform this feeling, and that, like, it's not about being perfect. It's more about just this longing to be your best version and to contribute.
But that's so interesting, because perfection is not something. It's not a static. It's not something that we can reach.
No.
Perfection is something that we have also a strive for.
Yeah, we aspire
As-
to.
yeah,
Mm.
perfection is it's actually in Latin perfect is something that has already been,
Mm-hmm.
which is as usual the Latin is a construct, and they put in all of these things to make us think that perfection is not it's not something that we can strive for. It's something that's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection can never be. That's a different story. But I think this is something very important for in your life, in this book, because you've been striving for something, and that is the greater will, striving for perfection.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying this book is perfect.
No.
But that it's not interesting. Something that's perfect is not interesting. This is a stepping stone to perfection.
Yes. And this
That
is,
will never happen.
This is how it must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's so easy to fool ourselves with different mental construct of
Yeah.
that. Obviously, if you think about it, you cannot be born perfect. It makes no sense.
No.
But anyway, people tend to be put down because they're not good enough. But this enough is.
That's what I wanted to say. This is. I think this is contrary to the New Age perfect that they say. We're all perfect. True in a sense, but when we tap into the collective negativity, because there is it's not perfect out there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we tap into that and want to change that, because we want to align with a greater will to strive for perfection, then we feel this. I don't feel good. We can actually tap into that feeling and transmute that to be a part of the greater will and actually change things.
Yeah, without feeling the problems, you cannot strive for betterment.
No.
And and
Do you get it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you need to go through, and you need to be able to differentiate what is good and bad. If you try to imagine that everything is perfect already, then there is no change. And at the same time, that in itself is perfect. So the book also handles this duality, that there is a material dualistic sense of good and bad.
Yeah.
And there is also ultimate true nature and consciousness that is just fully perfect. And and I don't explain how this works, because it's like unexplainable.
Yeah.
It just makes sense that these two different, you could say, world views, they are not separate. It's not that you either have one or the other. They both go together in some beautiful way.
Yeah.
And it feels, I resonate. Everything is perfect, but my mission is to create abundance of joy and happiness and beauty within this imperfect world.
Yeah.
So one of my really hopes with this book is to obviously to give some keys that might help other people to find their own truth. It's not about me giving all the answers, because that's not how it works, but through my book it's just a series of experience, really, that has ignited different knowledge and understanding in myself. And by sharing this story, I can in a way open some keys in other people, or at least make them understand how they can do the similar experience from their own life. And one of the main thing is actually just to try to help people who go through this spiritual and material awakening to find a good balance. Because today I feel that a lot of people who go through this, what I call like the material or political awakening, which has to do a lot about shadow governments and all kind of secret and negative conspiracies and such. And I went through this, and I went through it very smooth.
Mm.
In contrast to many of my peers who
Mm.
got really like sad, depressed, obsessed, and all kind of negative emotion sprung out of this realization that the world is not as it's kind of seen.
Mm.
So this is something that I really hope to
And
to
that's
help.
that's also good. I mean, for your reputation,
Mm-hmm.
because since you've been so outspoken on the political arena and everything, this is all. This gives not totally, but it pieces you together. For me, at least, when I read it, because I've seen you as now you're my friend, so I know you better than that. But I think the public view of you is that you're just, standing on the barricades and talking about. But this, I mean, the depth that you go into in this book on the spiritual path. It's, I mean, you're more into that than the other.
Definitely, but I think they go together a lot, because on the other spectrum, if you look at material awakening, people tend to be drowning in negativity, while on the spiritual awakening, people kind of tend to flee from the material world totally and kind of wish themselves into the fifth dimension, kind of not wanting to see this dualistic world at all, because you have this again, either you want to be in this everything is perfect, or you're in this good and bad. And this is really you need to find a way to have all of this together. It's not until you have all these pieces at the same time that you're able to really find this equilibrium where you can be a political activist, and I can and I will go out and do demonstrations about negative things, but I do it with peace, with peace of mind, actually, and I feel just good about
and
it.
that is the awakened warrior.
Yeah.
That's the only way to know that there's a sharp line between what we call life and death, and the warrior is, he knows that. But he, and I think you show this is a story about a true warrior actually balancing between these points. I think, as you, I resonate very much with this. True awakening comes with realizing both sides of this so-called polarity that we live in, and I think it's an important sharing in this day and age, because it's either New Age or just the conspiracy depression.
They tend to they kind of touch on each other, but there's not a harmonious like at least the mainstream conspiracy spiritual people don't find this balance, I would say, today. But at the same time, this is happening now, that people are awakening, and this book takes this subject also quite a lot. That something that I speak about is like the new tradition, I call it. And this has come to be very directly because I've been traveling a lot, meeting people from all over the world, and usually alternative travelers that I meet. And when I talk to people and have these kind of conversations, it's kind of clear that we all share the same blueprint, you would say, like both how to relate to stuff, how the philosophy of life, the understanding of the material problems, kind of how we relate to spirituality. There's a lot of things that I can feel that there's like a common cohesive tradition, I would say, like the basic tradition, the original tradition is starting to come. And my book is very much in line with this, and this gives me so great joy. It was just the other day I find a new friend and started talking, and after a few 10 minutes of just talking about life and philosophy, I kind of tapped into that he was a bit aware. We're talking a bit about vaccines and stuff, and then it kind of continue when you open up, you know, like you have this safe space and you
Isn't
can talk
this
about
amazing
everything.
how these so-called negative things like the vaccines and everything is actually opening doors now for the tribe to come together
Yeah.
and
Yeah, you know, if you can have a shared understanding of such a like political
yeah.
difficult question, you know, now I can open up and talk about
That's
me.
beautiful. Yeah.
It is, and what I wanted to say in this meeting with this person, I could like feel just after a few minutes like you already know everything, you have it, you know,
Yeah.
not exactly everything, but the this feeling that yeah, we're from the same source, we've tapped
Yeah.
into the same knowledge,
Mm.
and this knowledge is coming.
Yeah.
This book is a bit of a, I'm helping a bit, but it's not like I'm gonna put out a new tradition. It's not. It is the new tradition, but it's not my tradition. I'm just one of many.
It's a remembering, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's really happening now. It's kind of different from the past. In the past, there are many different kind of esoteric tradition,
Yeah.
and they share some things. But now it's not a particular tradition anymore because
No.
it's such a vast, the information is flowing from every direction,
Yeah.
and we somehow pick up the good part, just as I did.
Mm.
Everybody's doing,
Mm.
and at some point, I think this will become strong. So we really have this sense of that we are this tribe.
Mm.
And that's very important, I think, also to kind of counteract this, I would say, like unbalanced new, I don't know what the word's like, but there's a lot of different like conspiracy cults, you could almost call it, like different beliefs about strange things, and this is obviously part of the agenda to kind of fool people into different stray topics.
It's also part of the big game that I mean, we forget when we come into this realm. It's part of the fun thing to be in the realm of forgetting, and some entities have used this playing arena for this purpose, that this is the realm of forgetting, and it's kind of fun to have amnesia and wake up and suddenly be a superhero.
Exactly. Many times I go back to this, like life. This kind of, it's an illusion. It's a dream. It's something that we cannot explain, but it's not so rigid, and it's often I feel like it's a bit like a movie, and I'm kind of co-creating this movie, and I'm living in this kind of sci-fi. Futuristic world where I am the hero and I'm going on this hero's journey, but at the same time it's also this kind of, it's a comedy, it's like a romantic comedy at the same time, because I can do this most, like, you in a way, like it's the most serious thing possible. I kind of try to save the world from dying from different like weird vaccines, all these very dark things, but I do it as if it's also a comedy, and I'm really enjoying, because this show is the greatest show possible. It's unimaginable.
Yeah, I think both you and I will give a 10 point when we check out on the other side. It's 10 points, right?
Yeah, how was it? Like, well, it was like the mastermind of evil, and we were like the really good ones who managed to find our way through everything and create this paradise together.
Wow. Yeah, let's play this game together now.
Yeah, we're in for a ride, and we need everyone.
And this is just the beginning.
This
is the beginning. I've been thinking about that. I mean, you know, all cultures call it the rebirth. We are being born now. So this is when it starts.
Yeah.
I mean, you just written a book. This is just your first book.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of books.
We'll see. Yeah. Yeah.
We know nothing so far.
We don't, and I think so much can happen so fast. And one thing that is important for me is to have this understanding that miracles happen, or things happen that we cannot think about, we cannot know about. It's easy to kind of be locked down in, if this continues with all the shipping of people, vaccines, blah blah blah, the earth gonna die and all the species dying and all the woods are cut down, and if you look at it from a kind of logical point of view, this sounds reasonable. Oh yeah, everything is kind of dying, but that is not how the world is created. And we will come to a time when magic becomes like the normal, when we start manifesting, at least collectively we will start manifesting that shift is happening in many different ways. And this is, as you said, just the beginning for a time of great magic, joy, and community,
Yeah.
where we will come together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.